from London. This is Maryum Sharif, and welcome to the Star Moguls podcast. Today, we have a very special International Women's Day episode. And there's a few people I've met in England, and this person is, I adore her, I admire her. She's like my elder sister. But on a professional note, she is one of the most influential women leaders. She has been ranked by FT as promoting diversity in banking. OBE, welcome Kamel Hothi.
Hello, Maryum. Thank you so much for inviting me. What a introduction. So thank you so much. I'm really flattered.
Lovely to see you after such a long time. I'm reconnecting with everybody after being in Dubai. And can I first say something? You haven't changed a bit. You know, just
You
as
know what?
glamorous.
You're just as flattering, and I don't believe a word you're saying.
I have to tell everybody that you are one of the most glamorous people that I know. All the events that we were at for, red carpet, charity events, I'm really missing those days.
I know,
I'm
so am
missing
I.
them so much.
Yeah, can't wait to get back and dress up, hey?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I want to tell the audience that Kamel is actually one of the most influential people that I know. And she's one of those people that has kind of been like a mentor to me. There are a few women that like to help other people succeed. For me, Kamal, you've been one of my, I think, people who have really accelerated my career and my journey in England. When I came to London, I didn't know anybody, and you really kind of guided me. So for that, I really appreciate you and your guidance and your mentoring. I've always kind of bumped into you, but you've always given me such great advice. So how did you start off? I know that you've had a career, very successful career in banking. So how was that journey for you? Have you always been very ambitious?
Oh my gosh, I don't think those words really go with me, ambitious, but thank you also for your kind thoughts. We've got to help each other at the end of the day. So I started as a cashier in the Slough branch, and it wasn't a career that I wanted. I actually wanted to go into nursing, but my father, coming from India, he was a civil engineer. Unfortunately, in the 60s, he couldn't get the job that he wanted and respected his own skills. So he got a bit bitter. So he thought there was no point in us going on to further education. So with the help of my brother anyway, I ended up as a cashier. Slowly realized that actually I quite enjoyed it because I speak several languages, and slowly the community, shortly, there's a little Indian girl, she can speak Punjabi and Hindi, and she can help us navigate the banking. So slightly started doing correspondence course at home. And then became the first ever Asian bank manager in the UK about 10 years later.
Wow, that's quite an achievement, quite kind of a landmark, it's quite historic in a way, How did you feel about that?
Once again, I think there's two parts of my life. One is, wow, I got there, but I didn't really acknowledge the achievement, because I was just so glad that, I've got my own branch, and they put me in a branch called Walton-on-Thames. And I don't know if you know Walton-on-Thames, but it's the most upper class British area. You could have put somebody that looked like me at that time. Right. So the customers, when they'd come and say, can I speak to the bank manager? And I'd come out, and they just looked at me from head to toe and thought, well, she can't speak English, maybe I'll speak a bit slower. But that really built my resilience, because I just wanted to, understand, why didn't they like me? Why didn't they want to talk to me? Slowly, I started running about 160 branches. But to be honest, that was my world at work. But as soon as I came home, I was married by then. I had a different life, which was obviously the duty as a daughter-in-law. So I never really acknowledged what I'd achieved, or if I had achieved anything. I found those words quite uncomfortable. For me, it was escapism. It was for me to just do the best I can to whatever they wanted me to do. And it was different from being at home. So to be honest, I never really acknowledged what I was progressing on.
Do you think that you were living kind of two lives as such, one outside as a successful banker, and then coming home and still fulfilling the duties of,
Yeah.
wife and
Well, even the
mother.
banker side, Miriam, it's a very male-dominated industry, as you know,
Yeah.
banking, especially at that time. So even going there, I was constantly challenged. And, when we talk about glass ceilings and microaggressions and being, ignored and all, to be honest, once again, I didn't really recognize them because all my life I've got so used to being bullied by racism, especially landing here in the 60s, coming from India and coming here in the 60s. We're Sikhs, and my brothers, my father, they cut their hair in order to integrate. And dad, basically, the lesson he gave us was, keep your head down, don't rock the boat because you won't be given a chance. So with those messages in your head, one didn't even realize that actually just to have a job was I was grateful for. The fact that I had an opportunity I was grateful for. And as I was getting, in senior roles, again, it was just the opportunity to carry on making a difference. Um, and that took me some time. From retail, I went into operations when the bank merged with two banks. I had an idea, and I call in my hero. Out of 150,000, I came across three men in my banking career who saw what I was doing and basically left me his card. And I was being made redundant at one time. And I remember Paul, I goes, look, they want to make me redundant. They offered me these jobs I don't want. And he said, look, I loved your idea. I tell you what, get on the train, come to London. And that was the first time I ever got onto a train into London.
Wow.
And with his guidance and his faith in me, managed to really get to the grips of putting that right across the group. But that's when I saw the real lack of diversity, because in the offices, at head offices, there was hardly anybody that looked like me. So I set up the first ever ethnic minority network and women's network to really understand, do other people feel like I do? When I talk, my voice is soft. I'd go into the room and I'd be chairing the meeting and they'll see the Indian girl coming in, oh, you make the tea. And I'd oblige and I'd be pouring the tea, not even recognize what I'm doing.
Yeah.
The elder to me, I'd be very respectful, even though I felt that what they were saying was wrong. It
Yes.
was slowly, once the pennies started dropping, to realize actually how much they were taking advantage of me. Um,
So,
Especially when
quite a challenging time. Like, how did you kind of, so obviously you kind of recognize that. So how did you address that?
I think I only addressed it, Maryum, after I did a role externally. So there was somebody from the government who heard me speak and said, look, we're thinking of bidding for the Olympic Games in 2012, but we need to improve our supply, diversity and procurement. Can you lead the task force for us? It was a voluntary role in the evening. To be honest, I had no freaking clue what she was talking about, but I thought, what the hell? It's a voluntary role. I'll have a go. It's the government. First couple of meetings were total disaster, but 18 months later, it was the best white paper across government, really shaped the way they procured contracts, became the bedrock of the Olympic Games bid. But it did something for me because these individuals thought I was so much more senior and they were holding on every single word I was saying outside
Yeah.
of my banking world. And that's really what boosted my confidence, that I wanted to give more. I had more to give. And that's when I think we encountered, is when I had the idea of the Asian strategy. I'm married to an entrepreneur who's constantly saying access to finance was hard. And Kamel, you work for one of the strongest banks, but your colleagues look down on us. They're arrogant. You haven't got the products. You're putting adverts on ZTV in the middle of the afternoon rather than, reaching for me in the evening for the entrepreneur. So I built my business case, saw how big the entrepreneurs were, where they were growing, and I presented it to the board, and they loved the idea. They gave me 6 months and said, if it works, fine. If not, you lose your job. But I felt I had something. I really felt I had,
Yeah.
had purpose, and that was the beginning of the strategy. And that's what I think really boosted my confidence in.
You've talked about confidence quite a lot, and so how people have perceived you as, a female Indian, right? And you're very softly spoken. That's one thing that that is your kind of your character. It's part of who you are. You're not brash. And we think of people, that women being in corporate, they have to be aggressive, they have to be authoritative. You literally have to kind of, you really have to make your mark. But you didn't do that. Like, you still kept your femininity, your your poise, your charm, and softly spoken. So how can you translate confidence in a male environment, in that capacity where you have to kind of stand
Mhm.
by who you are, like stand in your own truth?
Maryum, to be honest, it took me a long time. I didn't even recognize those characters. And the reason when you say, yeah, I am softly spoken, it's because every single night I was going home to an environment that was quite strict. I was a daughter-in-law. I had I was playing a role at home, a dutiful daughter-in-law looking after my in-laws. We had, 4 or 5 generations in one household. Because when I left my home and had my arranged marriage at the age of 19, that was what my mum said, in this hand, you're taking my honor with you. Make me proud. Keep your
Mm.
duties to care for your in-laws, be a dutiful wife, and don't come running home with any complaints. So when you are living these two worlds, as you say, I was going home and trying to be that dutiful wife to allow me to actually have my job in the first place. And it was, I've got to make sure I've got to go home and do all of these chores. And
Yeah, yeah,
that subservient viewpoint was keeping my feet very squarely on the ground. I didn't want to rock the boat with any side of the frame, either at work or at home. And it did take me some time, but I started realizing that as things got quite challenging for me, I must admit, with postnatal depression, I realized how dark I'd got. I needed help. And I
yeah,
did reach out for help. But that's when I realized I need to start taking care of myself. I need to start putting my oxygen mask on, as they say
yeah,
in the plane at
yeah.
home, to look after my children in order to be a better daughter-in-law and be able to achieve all of this stuff. That's when I think I started really rebuilding my sort of like resilience. I wouldn't say confidence, but resilience on how to motivate.
Right.
And also, we can't do this on our own. And I had a huge ally at home, and it was my father-in-law, a guy who couldn't read and write, but would sit beside me and constantly say, Gamal, if you want to manage these worlds, you're going to have to tackle both, this world and that. If you can do that, you'll be able to succeed. And with his help and his wisdom, and when I was doing my exams at home and everyone go to bed, he'll see the light on, he'll come and sit next to me just to keep on encouraging me.
Oh,
I'm
and
forever grateful
you need
for
and you
him.
need one person. You definitely need one person that is your supporter and your kind of cheerleader, and you just know that just having those words of support is so comforting.
Absolutely. So dad was at home, and at work, as I said, I met these couple of, opportunities when the curveballs, when I call them curveballs, when things go bad. So when I did the Asian strategy, this tall American from Citibank saw what I was doing, and he said, look, come across in corporate banking and let's take it globally. And I said, I don't know anything about corporate banking. He goes, don't worry, I'll shape it, but you do what, because he looked past my gender, my race, he saw what I was actually capable of.
Yeah.
And then in 2008, when the banking crisis happened, we as a bank rescued another bank and went down with it, unfortunately. The new CEO has asked me to stay on and saying, look, we're going to have to build trust and pride. Can you have a look creatively? Once again, I started looking at if volunteering could have done that for me. I'm a Sikh. We have seva in our blood. If seva could have done that for me to keep my confidence going, make me feel valued, could that do that for my colleagues? So I shaped a completely new blueprint of how to do charity partnerships. And I'm proud to say I managed to pay the government back, and I retired in 2017. And now I have a portfolio of roles. I'm very privileged and honored to choose what I want to do. I'm helping Her Majesty Queen on her Commonwealth Trust Fund, working across 53 countries on social change, still with Prince Harry, we'll see for now. But I'm an ambassador for Alzheimer's Society, where dementia is so close to my heart. In our community, we don't even have a
Yeah.
name for dementia. So I'm trying to really help break those taboo
Yeah.
subjects. But also I'm a non-exec on TLC Lines, where we go into companies to really talk about inclusion and well-being and leadership through storytelling, because I'm tired of this conversation over and over again about, racism or Black Lives Matter or Me Too movement is about gender. Surely we should be past that now. We should be
Yes.
having a conversation. Everybody comes together, whether you're a white man, you have a story, you
Yeah.
have your own challenges. How do we come together to actually really support each other? So that's what I'm trying to push at the moment.
How is it different now to when you were working and started off your career? Do you find that there's still the same challenges, or have we moved beyond that?
I think we have come some way. We've got to
Yeah.
recognize, I mean, gosh, when I started, it was a completely different playing ground in the work. As I said, we're Sikhs. My brothers cut their hair in order to integrate because the bullying in the 60s was
Yeah.
just really, really bad. So we have come a long way.
Mm.
However, where I think we've got to now is those biases are now underneath. They're
Right.
hidden. They're not so obvious. And, you know, the best way I can describe it is like being death by 1,000 paper cuts. You know how, you know, tiny paper cut can, oh, but it goes away. But can you imagine every single day having so many paper cuts? Because there's little nuances, those comments that are being made as
Yeah.
when you're working in the corporate world. I sincerely believe, right, you know, companies really do want to do the right thing now. They realize they have to change. You know, a lot has happened globally, and people are now corporates are realizing they have to really understand their products, understand how they market to people. They realize they need diverse boards, but actually still they can't seem to do it. And the reason for that for me is the captains of industries, those people who make the decisions, are still white men.
Mm.
And until they come out their offices and
Yes.
stop delegating this down to the HR team, the inclusion team, the diversity team, until they come out of their offices to say and meet somebody like me and say, look, I might say the wrong things. I might ask you the question that's not appropriate.
Yeah.
That's the only way we'll learn, surely. So there's a responsibility on our part, if you come from the minority community, to step forward and help explain, this is me. This is my background. These are the things that matter to me. But also then help give them some leeway to say, look, it's okay. You can ask me any question, long as it's coming from the right place. Surely that's how we'll understand each other.
Yes.
So I had about 40 CEOs around the table from the insurance industry, and I told this story about, look, this is me, but this is my personal life. And I had so many of them saying, oh my gosh, I've gone in the mirror, actually, Kamala, I don't know my people. And until that happens, I think that's what's going to break the back of this, is when those individuals step out and realize, I'm going to champion this, not just because I have to, or I'm being forced to by my stakeholders or regulation, or because it's the right thing to do. It's because I want to do it.
Mm. Mm. So, what advice would you give to, say, women who are housewives, are mothers, but want to do something for themselves and they want to work? How do they go about it when they have such maybe the traditions and culture and religion that kind of dominates their world? What would you say to them? What advice would you give to them?
If I've learned anything in my life, going through the same, because I'm still there, I'm still in the same household, 38 years later, 4 generations in one household, it's not easy.
Yeah.
But if I had the courage when I was younger to sit down and have a conversation, to explain, these are my ambitions, this is what I want to achieve, and those achievements are not just for myself, they're for the family, or this is what we'll all get out of this, but you can't do it on your own, that you do need their support. You need their encouragement, whether it be for child caring or whether it be for support from education, whatever it might be. And it's that, I think we're not very good as a community sitting down and having open and honest conversations. We
Yeah.
just get heated and blowouts, and then we disperse and we never come back together again.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
actually, how can we help each other to have a mindful conversation and realize, actually, I hope, I mean, my mother-in-law you've met her.
Yes.
She became my biggest advocate,
Absolutely.
from where she was in the beginning, who also was against what I was doing, but eventually saw that Kamal's not rocking the boat. She's not changing and cutting her hair or whatever it was that she was
Yeah.
fearful of. I'm still coming home and doing my duty. But she was then really supporting me with the home and my children and giving me that empowerment to actually balance these. It wasn't easy. I'm not saying it's easy
I
living in
think
an
even
extended household.
even the elders need to adjust their mindset.
Absolutely. And that's where,
Understanding, isn't it? And like you said, like honest conversations where you are open and say and really truly tell people how you feel from the inside, because until you really kind of dig deep you inside and tell somebody, we're not going to move forward at
yeah.
all.
And it's also reaching out to others, other women. We women should be supporting each other more often. I
Yes.
talk about my
Women.
heroes, and they happen to be all men.
Yeah.
The 5 men in my life, my brother, my father-in-law, and the 3 men at work. But I wish we as women supported each other more.
So
That's what I
international.
love about mentoring. And that's why when I meet people like yourself, it reminds me of, if somebody had helped me when I was younger, or recognized
Yes.
difficulties I was going through, whether it be through my mental health or whatever, my gosh, and maybe I wouldn't have gone through all that pain or so
Mm.
when I see somebody who actually, you've got a lovely way about you anyway, Maryum, you don't need me, but you're gorgeous and you're so friendly. And my desire is actually, if I've got two daughter-in-laws, if they had a challenge or they had any difficulties, I'd love another woman to have stepped in or will step in and saying, Beta, I can help you.
Yes.
What can I do?
Yeah,
If I
absolutely.
can do that for their children, I hope Godma will find that they will look after my children if there was ever an issue that I wasn't around to support them on.
Absolutely. And I think if we do and we do unite, I think it just makes it easier for why can't everybody else succeed? This is what my philosophy has always been, that why can't we help everybody else? And in the beginning, I remember when I started working, it was like, I can't share this, or I can't do this, or and I was never like that. Maybe because I wasn't a Londoner, I had come in and I was new to London, I was new
Yeah.
to my work, and I was just so excited about life, and I just love people, and I do have a genuine love for people. But I really think just even giving another woman a compliment, even that is such a even that boosts their confidence, or says, well, that there, it doesn't cost anything, it's actually genuine and it's honest, and if it's given with sincerity, I think that it can boost somebody and actually create a conversation, create great quality relationships. And I think that's what we've done. We
And
have
I,
met on so
absolutely.
many
And I,
occasions, and we've had so much fun. And your guidance, your mentoring, and it's not been like you've sat with me for like an hour or something. Like literally, Maryum, literally one-liners. And I'd go back and think, Kamal just gave me one line. What's that meant to mean? And actually, that was the best way of mentoring, because you're not meant to completely, you know, um, tell the
yeah.
student or the mentee everything. You're actually allowing them to figure out things for themselves, because you don't want them to be dependent on you. And that's what I've learned. And I went on to set up my own charity for creatives, young creatives, which I loved. So I think that it is a knock-on effect. One helps another, and we go on to help each other. International Women's Day this year has a theme, um, choose to challenge. What would you like to challenge this year for women or in
Yeah.
life for 2021?
I think for me, the challenge starts with yourself.
Mm,
Stop pointing fingers at your your family, your partner, your lack of education, or your difficult background, or as an employer that they're being unfair at you. Look in the mirror, challenge yourself, and be honest with yourself. So, what are the things you're passionate about? What are
mm,
the things that you're not good at? What are the things that your trigger points? So when somebody says, how do you normally behave? When
yeah.
you really, Aristotle, which is a wise man, and I love, this wise man in history, he mentored Alexander the Great when he was 12 years old. So mentoring's come from that far. We know what Alexander did around the globe as, this huge icon in our history. He said, wisdom starts with understanding yourself.
Absolutely.
So I
Absolutely.
would say if there's anyone to challenge, is challenge yourself first.
Yeah.
Really understand what is that you want to drive. And once you understand, then you can start creating your own roadmap. Where do I want to get to? How do I get there? And stand on your own 2 feet first. Karma will come, they will bring others to you, but you need to actually look after yourself first.
Yes. And I think that's something that women generally don't. We're such givers. I'm guilty of it. Like, give, give, give. And then you're depleted and you're low in energy. And then you think, what happened? It's because you really didn't understand who you were and how to manage the relationships as well, isn't
But
it?
also, to know your own purpose. I mean, I realized that I had a weakness in the beginning. I call it a weakness. I like to be liked. And so
Mm,
when somebody was rude to me, whether in banking or, I just keep chipping away at it. And
yeah,
sometimes you have to accept there are people you can't change.
absolutely.
But what that did taught me, that turned into being curious.
Mm,
So when something didn't work, I wanted to understand. And curiosity became my brand. So that's what I became. So if you wanted a project, I'd give it to Kamal. She'll get to the root causes of problems.
yeah.
So sometimes your negative stuff can turn into your biggest assets,
Yes.
but you need to understand what they are first.
So how would you deal with the challenge then? When you come across a challenge or a difficulty, how do you deal with it? How do you look at it?
Yeah, so I'm not very good at poking people in the chest or being in their face. That's not my style. I find that really uncomfortable. So my way of managing conflict, I suppose what you're saying is, so especially if it's in a room and either somebody said it to me that I think that's inappropriate, or to a colleague, one of the things I've found is sometimes saying, sorry, I didn't hear what you said. Can you just repeat it again?
Oh, okay.
And by just saying that, the person pauses, and before they blurt it out, realizes actually they look around, what have I just said? Was that inappropriate? So that's just a subtle way of just, or when the meeting's finished or whatever it is, just call them up now virtually and saying, look, did you see the reaction on Maryum's face when you said, she recoiled, she went really quiet. I'm sure your intention wasn't to actually upset her.
Yes.
But I just wanted to, did you realize that? So it's giving the person the opt-out card, if you know what I mean, the jail-out card, to actually say, no, I didn't want to say that. That's not what I'm, but helping them to understand the impact of their words.
Yes.
So I think I find more courage in speaking up for others, not so much for myself, but, I'm hoping that somebody else will do that for me.
So what do you think the recipe of success is for your own personal success? What do you think the ingredients are to make a successful leader?
First of all, Mary, I have that imposter thing in my head about, success. I don't, success is in the eyes of the beholder, as they say,
Is that
but
something as an Asian woman?
well, I think from our religious background and our culture, our parents always used to say, stay humble.
Yes.
And don't boast about what you've achieved. And in fact, parents never boasted about their children. My parents never said anything. And I probably, I'm guilty of that. I regret it now. I try to make up for it now. But, you want other people, you want the community to be proud of who you are. And that's how you're brought up. And unfortunately, that's made us a bit so cringy when somebody says you're successful.
Yes.
However, I do accept to encourage others who might become still in difficult situations. They need to see people that look like you and me in roles that they might wish for, admire for, and especially young people coming into the banking world say, actually, if Kamel can do it without going to university and reached and did these roles and was able to do this, my gosh, with degrees, with education, what's stopping them?
Yes.
So I do accept there's a sense of responsibility on us to step forward and talk about this stuff, and that's the only reason I do it. It's not for PR, it's not for promotion. It's actually say, if there was one girl or one child or one husband who could say, I've got a daughter or I've got a sister or I've got a wife or a mother, I didn't realize this is what they're going through at work. I would never want that on them, to change their behaviors or their attitude towards their loved ones. I think I've done my job.
Do you think it's easier to get into the banking field now, into the sector, or do you think it's harder from your times?
Getting into it is not that bad. In fact, graduates coming in, majority of them are from the Black ethnic minority background.
Right.
They're still climbing the corporate ladders, which still can be challenging. However, have courage. Listen to your voice. Listen to your innovation, because companies need you. Companies need diversity around those boards. They know that they need it, but they don't know how. So if you've got an idea or, network, get to know other people, not just in your division, but others around you. The more you can network, the wider your circle, the more hopefully you will learn from others. You'll observe and watch how the politics is played. But more importantly, if there's an opportunity or a role, you've got somebody already in that division you can pick up the phone to and say, oh, there's a job going on. Can you give me any advice? To get people who be what I call your silent sponsors, those people who talk behind your back. They'll only talk if you go out there and make those relationships.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I always, whenever I've met you at award ceremonies, I think you're the best dressed person in a sari. And if anybody knows, Kamel, that is your signature. That is your signature. You and the sari. That's it. You complement each other so well.
But Maryum, you know what that created, don't you? Because your help, that when I was sponsoring the Asian Women of Achievement Awards, there was one year, I think I dressed 19 corporate white women who from the exec board said,
Yes.
Kamel, you know, you get all of these compliments. We want some of that. So I know with your help, and you know, you helped me source so many saris, and you know, but I remember coaching my team, and we were ironing, I don't know how many. And Raman, who used to
I
work with me, she
remember.
goes,
Yeah, yeah.
I came here as a director. I didn't expect to be ironing saris all afternoon. But yeah, no, it's a cloth that I admire. It's an
Yes.
that I really respect, and
Mm.
I'm proud. If you know if somebody else wants to wear it and wants to be seen in it, well, I'm happy to support them on that.
Is there somebody that is inspirational for you? I mean, we're talking about International Women's Day, and is there a woman, or are there certain individuals that are inspiring you in your life?
Um, to be honest, one of the key person that still continues to inspire me, and I question, is my mum. She passed away 23 years ago now.
So
For a
sorry.
woman, you know, thank you. But for a woman, when my father used to only come back home every 2 years, so he was when we were in Punjab, you know, she could have made so much of herself.
Yes.
But she had this silent beauty of a love that was just oceans deep.
Oh,
And I don't know how, you know, where do you get that Devi-like calmness to be able to forgive so quickly?
mm.
So she still inspires me continuously to challenge me when I get angry or get upset. Mum, what would you have done? How
Yeah.
would you have coped with this? The others in this day and age, I suppose, is I do like Michelle Obama
Yes.
because outside of who her husband was, she's made her own mark
Yeah. Her own identity. Yeah.
and she was ready to be human. You know,
Mm.
we saw her when she came here with the schoolgirls, you know, there wasn't any airs and flares about her. And I really like that about her, that she was able to reach out and connect and have that human connection. And
Human touch.
I admire people like that who in seats of power have got no ego.
Yeah.
One thing that really puts me off in anybody is
Yeah.
somebody who's got ego, especially if they've made it.
Yes.
We've all had struggles to get to where we want to get to.
Mm.
Don't forget where we've come from.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I think egos are they're destructive and they're quite ugly, actually, tell you the truth, and it doesn't achieve anything. Somebody is not bigger or better than anybody else. Everybody is unique and everybody has their own
Mm.
gift. Everybody is individual. And people should recognize that as a woman, to be encouraged by our husband or our sons or our family. How can we create a more of a, how can we encourage more women to be more active? Because I feel that, if women were to equally share their gifts with the world would be so much beautiful.
Guru Nanak said that in our that out of women kings are born. So we have a role to play. The way I'd answer that, Maryum, as you know, I've got two sons.
Mm,
I
amazing
feel,
boys.
thank you. I feel responsible in coaching them
Yes.
on how to be better husbands.
Yes.
And I remember my elder son before he got married, having this conversation with him because
Mm,
I feel in our community the word mother-in-law is so toxic. And I did not want to be labeled that mother-in-law. I really wanted to break those shackles. So
mm,
I spoke to him, and the words I said, "Beta, especially because they want to live together. So we're in an extended family." And I said, "We're going to have our ups and downs. But whenever those moments come, put your wife first,
ah,
not your mother." Now that's the only thing and that doesn't mean he has to bow down and be
yeah,
subservient, whatever. But
absolutely.
it's actually, she's your life partner.
Yes.
And if you show her respect, if you show that you're listening to her,
Mm,
and that she counts, she matters, that will help your relationship.
yes.
And as a mother-in-law, as a mum, what more beauty and happiness could I have to see my a couple growing in faith? I have a role to play, absolutely. I want to impart my wisdom. I want to impart my experiences on both of them, especially my daughter-in-law. And Priya and Pami, we talk, we have discussions, sometimes heated, about
Yes.
what future looks like. Whether the role, and we had my mother-in-law sitting there who was quite set in her ways, and there was me, and then it was difficult, it was challenging, and I'd be caught in the middle. But at the end of the day, sometimes that's when I had to realize I had to step up.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
never defended myself in front of my mother-in-law, but I wanted to defend my daughter-in-laws.
Oh,
So it's how do we as women now play not just the roles with our sons and helping them realize their roles in life for their partners or their daughters, their mothers, whatever it might be, but for women as well. The only thing I would say for the next generation, don't lose sight of family. Yes, having a career, having business is wonderful, and it gives you identity, it gives you ambition, and it helps flourish your family. But also there's a role that's just as equally, and if not more important, being the homemaker.
yes. I think many women, what I've seen in this last 10 years, I know some of my own friends or some women from my own kind of circle. They're still involved in their career. And they love their careers, but they're not married, and they don't want to, or they haven't found. And I find,
What I've seen and compared, the next generation, they've seen their mothers struggle,
right, yeah,
whether that being as daughter-in-laws or in homes or at home with the hands of their fathers, whatever it might be. They've seen their mothers struggle. They've become quite determined not to follow that path.
right, right,
And we also then encourage them, go and get a degree, go and get educated, and go and
yeah,
find a job. So we've been encouraging them also to, you know, but then there's always this, now you become a doctor and lawyer, right, okay, but you also have to have a marriage, or when are you getting married? I do feel that we need to now evolve.
mm,
Some individuals don't want to get married. They're quite happy to be on their
yes,
own. And that
yeah,
is also fine, long as you've got your circle of friends and family and
they
relationships
are,
around
yes,
you.
because they become family. Yeah,
Absolutely. However, the number of females and boys actually, I also mentor that I've been mentoring about their careers. That's what they come to me for. Then they get to a point of, around about the 35, 48,
yes,
worrying, panicking because they haven't got any personal life. They want to get married. They can't find a right partner. They're getting hassled from their family. And what's happening is they reduce their expectations. They
yes,
make decisions into relationships that really
yes,
below their standards, if you get
yeah,
what I mean.
and desperate
But they're
situation.
panic, desperate.
Yeah,
And that doesn't help anybody, because 3-4 years later, I've seen it that we've had more divorces and breakups more than anyone. So my
yes,
only sound advice is, as you progress up your career, and I always talk about, you remember this 5-year plan, I say, in 5 years time, where do I want to get to? But
yes, yes,
for your personal life as well. Where
absolutely.
do I want to be in 5 years time? But what I think the biggest thing for me is put your age there. Put your
Mm,
age, what you're going to be in 5 years time. Put the age of your parents, your siblings, and whoever it is. Then you'll see, actually, oh my gosh, or your husband, if you haven't got children, what age would you be? And
yes,
as women, we have a time bomb that ticks away if you do want children,
and
if
that's
that's something.
reality.
And
Absolutely.
so having it there in black and white and putting your age and looking in her head, you can then make an informed choice and balance work, whether you take your foot off the accelerator from work and say, I'm now going to focus on my family or whatever it might be. Or actually the other way around, my family are now grown up, then they don't need me at home anymore. I now can really flourish at work. It's making an informed choice
Yeah.
in a pragmatic way rather than panicking. That
Yes.
hopefully would be better for all of us.
You think women can balance both home and being a mother and having a career?
It's not
Is it
easy.
challenge? What is
It's
the
not
main
easy,
challenge?
but do you know
Yeah,
what?
I
I
think you
think
can,
if you
but what
can,
is the
yeah.
main challenge?
I think the one thing is not sharing and talking with your partner or your family of the challenges you're facing at work is because they don't know that world. So when you come home, it'll be roti banoni agan. They don't know that the frustrations you might be facing. I
Yes.
think the more you can share and let them into your life and tell little stories about what happened today or what challenges you face, they'll be more empathetic to you. They'll realize, actually, oh my gosh, she is or he is stressed out.
Yes.
Likewise, whatever the responsibilities you have at home as a
Yeah.
carer or responsible for children,
Mm.
you're carrying that into work. So is there a colleague at work you can just have, you know what, I'm really struggling at home.
Yes, yes.
You know, I'm having to balance all of this stuff, or this is happening at home. They might then say, I tell you what, why don't you work from home or take time off? I've
Yeah.
got this. It's creating those circles of trust, both at work and at home,
Yes.
where you allow that conversation to happen. Because trust me, I don't think you can do it on your
I
own.
don't think anybody can succeed on their own, and it's not fun either. It's
No,
not.
that's true.
It's not fun. What advice would you have given your younger self then? If you knew what you know now.
Well, exactly that. I wished I'd spoken to my father more,
Yeah.
had the courage to tell him what I wanted to do. As I said, I wanted to go into nursing and be a doctor. And I would have recognized then why he wouldn't let me go. It
Mm.
wasn't because he had he just thought I wouldn't get a chance, but he
Right.
didn't,
Right.
you know. So I wish I'd spoken up a bit more. I've wished in my marriage, once again, I had been a bit more vocal and stronger.
Yes. Yes.
Stronger for just not for myself, but for my children. So those regrets that one has, those memories that are now tarnishing my soul,
Mm.
that make me shameful of the things that I never stopped. I wish I had the courage to do more at that time. But so reaching out for help. Reach out for help when you think you are getting to that trigger point. Understand your own triggers and
Yes.
reach out for support.
Because mental health is it's been the hot topic really since last year, and especially it's become much more apparent with kind of COVID, because people are stuck at home and they're going through the numerous challenges through work and home and homeschooling and all sorts that you hear.
Absolutely. And our communities,
We don't
in
talk about
fact,
it enough
we suffer more from depression than any other community.
because we
And it's because
camouflage it.
we camouflage it, but we
Yeah.
also feel it's a sense of honor not to go and talk to anybody about it.
Yes.
So you're scared
Yeah.
to talk to anyone.
Yeah.
So once again, who are your circle of trust?
Yes.
And if it's not home, if it's not friends, then reach out to the doctor. I
Yeah.
encourage you to go and reach out to the doctor. Go to your work. Nowadays, every company have got so many resource groups
Yeah.
and free 7 sessions of counseling that you can ask for. And just talking to somebody, yes, okay, the counselor may not get your situation because
Yeah.
it's difficult to understand an extended family what's going,
Yeah.
but there are some best advices, nuggets of information that I learned through those several conversations I had when I reached out to counseling
Yes.
that helped me at that time.
And such a great point, because I went through a really challenging time last year, and had come back from Dubai, and I did the same thing. There's certain things that you can't sometimes, your friends won't be able to understand, and you do need some kind of professional help to get you through, and find some answers, and maybe look at your own self and like to dig in yourself, and find those answers and really understand yourself. And there's no shame in it, absolutely no shame. And I think that, like you said, encourage more people to do it.
And can I just say a health warning sometimes because counsellors are also human beings.
Yes.
The first counsellor you may not get on with, or
Mm.
the advice may not be appropriate to you. Don't give up.
Yes.
Go out there again, look for somebody else.
That's good advice. Yes, because it's like with anybody, you do have to kind of see if there's a
Yeah,
rapport, there's an understanding, and you won't be able to open up to anybody that you don't feel comfortable with. So, don't, yeah, like you said, don't go through the 7 sessions
yeah, yeah,
having to not even achieved anything. So
yeah.
that's not the point of counseling or any kind of therapy.
But all counselling, any counselling, the other thing I would say, it only work if you know that you've got
Yes, how to
a
acknowledge it.
problem that you want to overcome.
Yes, yeah, I think.
Counselling doesn't work otherwise.
Yeah, and Kamal, sometimes uh, I can speak from my own experience that there was things that were happening in my life in the last few years that I didn't even understand, or I didn't even recognize, because I wasn't aware of it. I've not experienced it. I don't know anybody else that had gone through it. And so I felt like, I felt
Mm.
quite embarrassed, even if I felt those feelings. And I thought I knew something was off, and knew something was not right, but I still, like, you have to actually even understand and recognize that there is there's something wrong, or there's a change, or you don't feel right, there's a discomfort, or there's an ease, you're not at peace with
You know,
yourself.
when sometimes I mean, my trigger points is I take ages to make a decision. I'll keep on checking it out, checking it out, checking it out.
You're
That
overthinking.
overthinking a problem, overthinking the solution, overthinking, replaying a conversation over and over again in your head. Those for me are usually my trigger points. Look, you know what? Stop, pause, go and do something different. Whether
Mm,
that's go and take a 10-minute walk,
yes.
meditate, go and listen to music,
Yeah,
uplifting music.
that's right.
Stop. Is understanding your brain is overworking and
Mm,
it'll only get worse. You won't, so, but you need to find your own way. I mean, I'm not very good at meditating, but what I love listening is to kirtan,
yeah.
music that
Yeah.
helps lift my soul.
Yes.
And now, with the lockdown, I'm coming into the office because trying to get out of home. This is our
Right.
family office, but I've deliberately now walked 20 minutes of walking and
Mm,
just speaking to, for me, I'm having a conversation with God
yes.
when I'm challenged on something. And, that helps me get ready before I step home into my work home environment.
Oh, that's
I
really
feel
good.
refreshed.
Yes.
So find your own boundaries, find little moments that you have luxuries of escaping yourself into. It only needs 10 minutes or
Absolutely.
whatever it might be, just
Today,
to refuel yourself.
today was raining, and I'm a sunshine soul. I love the sunshine. I think I'm solar powered. So today I actually forced myself to go out, and go out in the rain, got my umbrella, and that was actually quite nice as well. And I really appreciate everything, and when I've come back from Dubai, my friends and my mom would say to me, she goes, you've lived here all your life, why are you talking about the trees or the color of the grass or the rain? And I was like, because I you kind of look at things from a different perspective, you appreciate again, you know
Yeah, one of
the
the things
beauty of
through,
it all.
yeah,
Today I went out in the rain for about a half an hour walk, and I felt so good. I felt like my head was clear, and I needed that. I love walking, Forrest Gump of walking, but I think that's for me. And you have to know what you like and what you do that does refresh you, or just kind of gives you that kind of charges your batteries. So absolutely.
like they say, listen to your breath. Just take
Yeah.
deep breaths and then, look around you. And I mean, it's only a short walk and it's in the high street, but even in the high street, walking down the main road, there's
Yes.
some beautiful oak trees that I love watching and looking it up. And then you see the sky, and then you see the birds, and then you see clouds and shapes of clouds, and then you see the moon or whatever it might be. I'm
Yeah.
fascinated and saying, actually, we're very blessed to be
Yeah.
here.
Just
And
have.
it's actually thanking your blessings, actually, when things you think are really dark and you feeling that you're in the dark place and things aren't working. Actually, you know what? I am actually very, very fortunate that we're
Mm,
living in the UK. We're not in a country that's oppressing. We're not in a country that is in war. I'm
absolutely.
not living in a refugee camp. Putting
Yeah.
everything in perspective helps you get back into that. So, like, right, okay, I can
Yeah.
face this now.
Yeah, I mean, I had a friend of mine. She messaged me yesterday saying, "Oh, I'm really sorry you're still in lockdown." I was like, "No, it's fine. I'm loving it. It's okay." Because there's no point of actually dwelling on it and getting upset, because this is the way it is. There's no point on going down that road when you can actually just, like you said, you just got to, you just can look at the positives, look at the blessings of it all. I always say that there's a blessing in it. Look, we've had a time for reflection, time
Mm.
to understand ourselves. Otherwise, it's just on the go, on the go. And I don't think we've paused like this ever. You know,
No, no.
you know.
So, taking
Okay,
advantage of it now.
yeah, it's absolutely okay. It's getting out of hand now, but still, we still have enjoyed it. We've enjoyed Ramadan. We've enjoyed
I
that
know.
good
Yeah.
time, that presence, and we valued ourselves. Thank you so much. Is there any last words that you would just like to say to our ladies that are watching? Um, for this
Just
year,
let's support
how to
each
make the
other,
most of this.
yeah, and look out for each other. Look out for individuals that you think are a bit quieter or haven't contacted you recently. um, let's take some break from social media and stop just following the likes. Is actually in who are those individuals that you think really could do with your help. So
Mm,
look out for each other. That's the only thing I would say at the moment.
that's such great advice, because uh just checking in with everybody, and just checking in, just saying just hello and how are you feeling. I think how are you feeling is such a um, powerful question, and it gets people to open up, and it's needed.
I've
So,
started asking, how's your mental health these days?
oh, you have.
Yeah, because that then makes them answer. Because otherwise, some people
Yeah,
have
that's
said,
quite a
I'm
strong
feeling
question. Usually,
fine.
how are
I'm
you? And
feeling,
you,
yeah, I'm
how are
feeling
you can be
fine
very,
because people say I'm fine,
yeah,
but actually, say, how's your mental health these days? Oh gosh, yeah. Well, actually, no, I'm a bit anxious on this. So it sometimes gives me a different answer to start a conversation. I think actually I'm happy to listen, and that's all they want. Sometimes they don't expect you to have answers, but
yes,
it's just having somebody to listen is more powerful than any gift you could give.
absolutely. Thank you so much. I am giving you a big hug.
Yeah,
But for people who don't know, like for
I know.
me, Kamal, you are like my, if I don't have an elder sister, but you are like my elder sister, and if I had one, she would be just like you, because you're so generous with your time, kind, compassionate. I wish you all the success in whatever you choose to do now.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to see you. I can't
I
wait to
know.
big hug
Likewise. Thank you,
and
darling.
see you, because it's been too long.
I
And I
know.
can't wait to see some, like, you're rocking your stuff on, on with your sari on the red carpet, and you know
You know what? More than that, can't wait for you to see my grandchildren.
oh, I was there for the first birthday.
I know. Well, we've got a few
They've
others
grown.
now that joined
Yeah.
since then. So yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I look forward to it. Thank you so much. I
Okay.
wish you all the success,
Thank you. And
inspirational
you.
role model for me and for
Okay.
many others.
Thank
I
you.
wish you all the success
Okay.
in the future.
Take care.
Lots of love.
Bye
Take care.
bye. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.